All right. It is a little after 1:30 in the morning. But the NHL has decided that they want to play in Australia, so I am up because they decided that my team was going to get the special privilege of going to Australia and playing hockey against the Kings. So, without further ado, I should probably tell you who I am. My name is Timothy Boileau, and I am the Albertan Coyotes fan. Well, one of many, but the Albertan Coyotes fan. I have decided. That being said, the Coyotes win 5-3 in what I can only call a very energetic game. Just to give you a bit of an overview as to what the game was. The first period, not much happened. I mean, stuff happened, but, scoring-wise, nothing. Second period, goals. Just straight goals. Third period, you got a goal. It was an empty net goal, but it counts. It counts just the same. But with the preseason being as is with the famous TV show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? This is the game, the hockey game, where everything's made up and the points don't matter. So let's get into it. If you want to know why I'm staring off that way for whatever reason, it is because I have my notes written down and I need to read some of them because some of these are just, kind of crazy. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, the official numbers for people showing up to a hockey game for the first time in the Southern Hemisphere that the NHL has played in the Southern Hemisphere. My English is doing very Englishy with 1:30 a.m. conversation-y stuff. We had 13,097 people in attendance, and that is insane. I was kind of thinking I figured it would be wow, cool, what's that? I want to go and see what that is. But there were people there in all sorts of different jerseys. There were people there in it might as well have been an NHL arena. And that's hilarious coming from me, considering I do know where my team plays. But to see that kind of a crowd in a place where hockey just doesn't sound like a sport that they really know, and that sounds bad on my part, but I come from Canada. We don't think the States know what hockey is. So, it's, forgive me on that one. But it's crazy to see that amount of people supporting this league. So getting into the game, Valimaki, he might drive me insane. Because a couple minutes into the game, he goes and gets a holding penalty, and we have to start the game with a penalty kill. And the Yotes, they kill it off just fine. Actually, the entirety of the first period, the defense was clicking. Like, they were very much firing on all cylinders. They were crashing the net to make sure that Ingram was covered. But it was a very defensive game. The Kings had the rush most of the time. And the shots I'm looking at here, it ended up, after the first period, being 15 shots for the LA Kings against 7 of Arizona's shots. And, I mean, that's double for the Kings. So, that was one thing that I left with on the Coyotes front as they left for that intermission, was just, we need to be going for the offense, because we can play defense all we want, and we could play stellar defense all we want. One of these times, we're going to make a mistake. One guy won't be quite yet into position, and that puck is, it's thin. It'll just squeak by, and there they are, up 1-0, maybe 2-0. Could have been 15 goals to nothing. Who knows? But they were good about keeping themselves kind of centered in and closed off so that they could make the defensive plays that they had to, and they could support their goaltender. So that was the biggest story of the first period. The second period, quite frankly, had a bit of the bigger story, and I'm going to get to that shortly here. And by shortly, I mean now. We get into the second period, and the score is 0-0. And I'm just going to preface this with, they left the second period, they left the ice with it 4-3 for the Coyotes. So, if you want to talk about a crazy game, that's a crazy game. So, the second period starts out, the Kings pick up the draw, they take it down, and around the net. And I should be saying around the net this way. They came from the right side, coming around to try and put the puck in the net. And to the credit of Connor Ingram, the puck didn't go in, which is good. But there was no one in front to cover the rebound. And I held my breath. It came impulsively. As the puck trickled through the front, right, like underneath the forwards for the LA Kings, there was no one there. If the Kings had been just a little more on the ball, that's another onslaught going to Ingram. So the first thing I noted was, what happened to our defense? It was all collapsed. It was all closed in around Connor Ingram for that first bit, that first period. And then, poof, gone. And that absolutely astounded me. Now, what followed is kind of my realization as to what happened. They were going for the offensive. They were kind of taking my word, even though they couldn't hear me. So, like you're screaming at the TV screen. And you're just like, oh, come on, shoot. And they shoot, and you feel all powerful inside. That's kind of what it felt like. But right after I made that note, the puck starts going the other way. And I'm reading as I go here because, I'm so prepared at 1:30 in the morning. Sean Dursey passes it to Nick Schmaltz, who gives it off to Keller. And Keller is trying to find a space to shoot. And he can't find it. So he ends up creeping over that red line where the icing is marked off. Like, it goes behind the net. Keller shoots. And I'm thinking, what the heck are you doing? Like, is he trying to pass it? The puck goes in. It bounces off. And I was thinking this was an accident. It bounces off the right leg of, at this point, I believe it was Phoenix Copley's leg. And goes in the back of the net. And that is our first goal for the Arizona Coyotes. We hit first. And it was amazing. And upon replay, he aimed to hit the back of Copley's leg and put it in the back of the net. And to think that a player would be that brave to try it, and I mean, it's a preseason game, I understand that. But you don't just do that. It's not something that you're just like, oh yes, let me just shoot this piece of rubber off this person's leg and hope it goes in. That was something, I swear, he had to have practiced that, probably on Vejmelka or Ingram. And then Lewis gets a penalty for slashing. So he gets hauled off to the box. And I'm watching intently at this point because I know even the announcers were saying, like, the Coyotes do not have a good power play record. And right off the bat, I think it was Kopitar. I could be completely mistaken. Like I said, 1:30 in the morning, probably nearing 2, actually. The Kings take it the other way and get a shot off, shorthanded, and it was a breakaway shot. Like, there were 2 defenders coming from either side, and King player just going right through the middle. And luckily, Ingram was able to track the puck. It gets redirected. It goes the other way. And from the blue line, Michelli, assisted by Valimaki and Jason Zucker, I believe. I think. I had to listen to the guy announcing it past the broadcasters because they weren't helpful. So I'm pretty sure it was Zucker. From the blue line, sniped it top shelf to make it a 2-1 game. Not 2-1. It is 2-0 at this point. I haven't gotten to the Kings goal yet, because that came right after this power play goal. The Kings score. It was Spence to Kempe in a mid-air sort of deflection, so it was going wide. Kempe got there, it deflected right into the net, and that made it the 2-1 game. And then right after that, as you can tell, my notes start kind of falling apart here because it's just goal, goal, goal. There's a goal by the Coyotes. It's Lawson Krause on a one-timer, and it had enough force with it. He ended up going down on one knee. On his left knee, no, he's a right shot. So his right knee, he ended up going down. And I know it's common. Let me have my moment. It was top shelf again. And even the announcers were saying, like, if you want to score on today's goaltenders, you have to go top shelf because they're so quick with those pads. And the Coyotes seem to have gotten that figured out. And this is already, without even getting to the Cooley goal, an extremely interesting team to watch because they changed some of the things from last year. They're a tougher team. There's more offense going on once they get past that first period, like, oh, we're too scared to do much of anything at the moment. So it's nice to see that change. That said, this is where we get a little bit loud and probably wake up the house, because Logan Cooley, you have to understand, like, not 2 minutes before this, and this is a big game of big moments happening right after big moments, and it's hard to track. Logan Cooley tries to backhand the puck across the ice. It gets picked off, and the Kings take it the other way, and they don't score. I said that they scored in the TikTok video I made under the same name, Albertan Coyotes Fan, that whole thing, if you want to check that out. But with that pick, I mean, the Kings had a clear, cut and dry breakaway. And Connor Ingram tracked the puck every which way that it went, and he stopped it. And I end up writing the note down, like, Cooley, what are you doing? That is basically all I wrote. And I look up, and the puck's in the back of the net, and Cooley is on the ground. They show the replay, and what Cooley did was absolutely incredible. Cooley comes in on the right side. He comes through trying to cut in. There are two defenders trying to pick him off. And he stops short. He turns around. He does a spin move. He gets to the front of the net. He takes the shot as he's falling backwards in a bit of a backflip. And he scores. Top shelf. That's the theme. And it is the most incredible thing from a rookie. From a guy who has never played in the NHL, maybe a preseason game here and there, but never in the NHL on the regular season game. And he's just going in there and having the time of his life doing tricks. He is, like, if you've ever seen people with yo-yos who can just, like, walking the dog. Or you got the DNA guy on TikTok. He just spins it and it makes like a DNA strand coming down. Logan Cooley might as well have just done that with the puck. And that was insane. Moving on, we get to the tripping penalty from Alex Kerfoot. And keep in mind, this is a guy that came from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if I remember Steve's videos correctly, because I watched them, Kerfoot was hit or miss on the penalties. Like, he was no Michael Bunting. But he wasn't an innocent player by any means. So it kind of didn't surprise me. I'm just so glad that none of the penalties ended up turning into, like, power play goals for the other team. We had our penalty kill, there we go, just locked in tonight, this afternoon, depending on, if you're talking Australian time or Canadian time, but doesn't really matter. In that penalty kill, I don't know if the number was 31 or 51. And the announcers, again, were not helpful. It's, you know, I might have not been listening, but I'm pretty sure I was, and I just didn't hear it. It might have been Troy Stetcher, who is a defenseman, kneeling right beside Connor Ingram to block the net because there was an onslaught of Kings players trying to score. And I think he did end up getting a block. But it all ended up in vain. I mean, it was after the penalty kill ended, so thankful on that one. But Fiala and Kopitar connect to score that second goal. That's when that happened. I think that was actually in the TikTok video that I talked about that, but they connect in midair. Goes like that. Goes like that. And right after that, if I sound defeated, part of it is, yeah, the Kings scored. It's the Kings. And second, I'm just gonna check the time here. It's 1:52. It's almost 2 in the morning, and I'm doing this. Kings score again with Trevor Moore shooting from the left side. So keep in mind, now it is 3-4 for the Coyotes. But that is the last goal that the Kings will score. The Coyotes did have one final breakaway at around 2:40 in the game, where they had the chance to, knock it in the net. But the guy carrying the puck decided to pass it. And again, I don't know who it was because the broadcast was not helpful. He went to pass the puck. It went over the stick of the other player that he was passing to and wide. He had the goaltender fooled. He had him sold on going across. All he had to do was lift his stick, stop the puck, bring it back, and shoot, and we would have had our 5-3 already. But that'll come later. The Coyotes won. I can't be too mad. But Valimaki gets another penalty to end the period for holding again. They kill it off. Into the third. We are heading into the third now. So in the third period, David Riddick comes in to replace Phoenix Copley. And we have a fresh goaltender for the LA Kings. And one of the big things that I saw in the focus, and I wanted them to do this anyway, it was a very quiet third. Because the Coyotes were keeping tight to their side. They were making sure nothing could get through, but they weren't offensive. They were trying to limit how much the Kings could do, and when they got the puck, they were very insistent on kind of running the time down a bit. There were a couple big chances, but for the most part, it was very just defensive hockey. And you want that. You need that, because when you are up 4-3 up against a team that made the playoffs last year, and you're a team that's just kind of trying to figure yourselves out, you need to have that space to let the game speak for itself. You need to wind down the time and make sure that the other team doesn't score. And all of that paid off with Barrett Hayton's final goal with an empty net to seal it at 5-3. And the time winds down. In Game 1 in Melbourne, the first preseason game of the 23-24 season is in the books. Much to the bane of my existence, I have to be up at 2 in the morning. I don't have to be, but I decided that I was going to do this because I want to do this. I want to talk about a team. Woo, go me. Point of the matter is, I gotta do this again tomorrow, so it's gonna be fun. They decided they were going to do a shootout. And what happened in the shootout was essentially, it was kind of just play for the goaltenders. It was exhibition. Zucker took the first shot for the Coyotes. And I won't be talking about the Kings in this, but Zucker took the first shot for the Coyotes. He goes up the ice. He second guesses himself. And he ends up running Riddick over. And the puck goes wide. He had the goaltender sold on the play. He could have went for a backhand, but he second guessed himself. And what can you do with that, right? Then Alex Kerfoot, pure Kadri move. And there's a reason I say that I will get to. He decides he's going to stick handle, and he's doing his thing, like, back and forth, chopping the puck. And he tries to go 5-hole, but it is the most nonchalant, just whoop. And it's not going to go in. Are you kidding? Riddick just put the pad in, like, okay, I saved it. Go home. That's all I've got to say about Kerfoot right now. He was very much invisible in this game. Logan Cooley took the third shot, and he was the one who sealed the deal in the shootout. So the Coyotes won both the game and the shootout. He came up, he squared up to the goaltender, and had the goaltender fooled, cuts away again, and scores top shelf on the right side of David Riddick. And you could call it end the game at 6-3. I think I'm going to call it that. That sounds way better. And then the last note I'll make, while I still have some form of consciousness... I got to edit this too. Woo! While I've got some form of consciousness, Ingram, incredible at tracking the puck. And the puck handler. That's the word, not the puck player. And the puck handler. He was able... There was one play in the game where the Kings and the Coyotes are all scrambling in front of the net, and the puck is nowhere to be seen, and yet Connor Ingram sees it. And he lunges forward, and with his blocker hand, he shoves the puck out of the way. Everyone else is still in this pile fighting for the puck, until one Coyotes player who's on the outside of the scrimmage ends up seeing it and takes it down. But to have a goaltender, and I've said this before, obviously not on here, I've said it before that the Coyotes seem to have a really good goalie coach and goalie staff and goalies. It definitely helps that the goaltenders can do their job. It's incredible to see. It's nice to see, and it's hopeful for me to see goaltenders who seem to care about the team that they're playing for. And I can name a couple different examples, like Darcy Kemper for the Colorado Avalanche when they won the Cup in 2022. Just recently, Aiden Hill, 2023, this past, this spring. Both of those goaltenders played for the Coyotes at some point, and I'd like to think that a lot of their skill and a lot of what they have going into these other teams is the goaltending coaching that they've received from the Coyotes that they can take to these other places. Because one thing that we've consistently had is good goaltenders. Our forwards, we're getting Keller. We had Doan. We had Kachuk, I think, was a front line. OEL when he was here, there. I'm in Alberta. You have those small spots of hope and small spots of glory, but it never really capitalizes. It's always in the back end where the things really take off. So, seeing that, and then seeing that this was a very offensive game, especially in that second period, it gives me a lot of hope that we might actually be coming out of a rebuild that, I didn't cover previously. We have been in a rebuild for eternity is what it feels like. And it feels like we might actually be coming out of it. So, with all that being said, there is a game tomorrow that I will be covering, and I'm going to probably be a bit more alert for that one. Yeah. It'll be fun. I'll probably be up till 4 o'clock tomorrow as well. But I'll be more awake because my sleep schedule will have adjusted for it. So, in the meantime, I am the Albertan Coyotes fan, the Albertan Arizona Coyotes fan. If you liked what you saw, and you like watching someone who is extremely tired talk about a sport that he very much cares about, but can't, vocalize because he is exhausted, you hit that subscribe button. You can hit the like button. All that to say, stay howling and go Yotes. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully I'm more awake.